Hello and welcome everybody to the Transatlantic Call-In Show. This is the place where you get to call in and ask two live breathing, fresh caught, farm raised, cage free trans people all the questions you want about anything and everything trans. If you have a relative who's trans and maybe you have an uncomfortable question that you don't want to field to them, but you still want answered, or maybe if you think trans people don't exist and you're so excited about what Florida is doing to trans kids, we want to hear from you with the caveat that we want honest interlocutors and dialogue. If you're calling in just to misgender and be a jerk, we're going to hang up on you real quick. So we actually want to get to truth and understanding and clarity amongst people and the community and all that good stuff. But with that said, I'm your host, Arden Hart, and today with me is, wrong side, as always,
Student Dr. Ben, and we may or may not be getting Angry Ben again today, because I was on, the Bird app, the place where lots of honest discussion is taking place, and
Yes,
I told somebody
always.
to call in, and I'm hoping that they will call in and say what they said on Twitter to my face. So if you're out there watching, call in. I'm waiting for you.
Yeah, let's hope. I mean, I've given that opportunity to people on Twitter many times, and they don't almost ever take it. So we'll see. I hope for the best. But how you doing, Ben? How you been this past week?
Yeah, I've been doing all right. Just did a lot of early morning shifts in the emergency department, so my sleep schedule is all over the place. But I am less excited about our punishments later on in the episode. So I know our audience is already getting hyped up for that. I know you and I are less hyped than they are, but
Oh, so much less.
it's time.
So much
It's
less
the
hype.
day.
I have my sandwich half prepared because I didn't want to put the relish and mayo mix on it because I didn't want the sandwich bread to be soaking in relish mayo for the hour and a half up before we do the punishment. So we're going to, I'm going to put that on, let's make the sandwich already live on air right before we do the punishment. So I've also got a puke bucket because the notion of doing this is already making me feel queasy. But at least you all get to laugh about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for this episode. I see we've got some return callers. Hopefully we can have some more productive dialogue that has happened in the previous episodes. But yeah, let's see, we had a poll up from last week that was related to a pretty serious issue. So let's pull that up if we can. So it says the Florida Medical Board has decided that the testimony of a few detransitioners and a religious conversion therapy advocate are sufficient to overturn the medical guidelines accepted by every reputable medical organization in the U.S. Is this decision rooted in good medicine? 79% responded no, they clearly just hate trans people. Thank you, audience, for coming through on this one. 5% say yes, they're saving our children. And 15% says, I don't know enough about transition care, which is honest. And I appreciate that response. I did look through the comments. I saw some people suggesting that this was a clearly biased and framed poll question, which I think is hilarious because if you actually watch the episode, we always talk about that like our answers are kind of jokes because we're really trying to spur on conversation, not necessarily. You're never going to get a informative poll on a YouTube community page. That is just to understand what your audience is thinking, not to elicit some sort of truth, right? Because your sample is so biased to begin with. So we always have done them in like a salacious framing way to get people to engage with it. But I thought that was funny. Yeah, I mean, I think most of our audience seems to understand what's going on here. I don't know if you got a chance to look through or if you have any other thoughts, Ben, after last week.
I didn't really read through the comments because honestly, there was so much going on with this particular issue within the medical community and to see where we go from here. And the good news is a lot of doctors have stepped up to advocate for the trans community. And I still haven't seen any like official statements from the AAFP or other organizations, but at least we're, understanding for the most part that this is a bad idea. And
Yeah.
apart from that, I don't have a whole lot of other insight on this one.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's probably not too much else to add here, and I would love to jump in to get to callers right away. But yeah, I think it's nice to hear that there are some individual doctors stepping up. I think it would be nice to see these organizations who have, proudly declared their support for the evidence-based care that we've been giving to children since these guidelines were formed, defending them. But yeah, it's sad to see that's not happening, but hopefully it's a matter of bureaucracy and taking time to formulate a proper response and not a lack of urgency.
Definitely.
But it remains to be seen. In the meantime, we do have a new poll question up. This one's a little more lukewarm. I don't know, Ben, if you want to read this one off.
Yeah, so this one is, how are you feeling after the election? And the answer choices are great, terrible, cautiously optimistic, or other. And yeah, elections are always not fun to like be in the middle of because you just never know what way it's going to go. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like everything is great with the way elections have been. But I do think that there's some cause to be cautiously optimistic. Like there's some good things that happened, some bad things that happened, but it didn't go as badly as people expected it to go. So I don't know if I should be more optimistic or less so, but I'm kind of in the middle on how I feel about all of it at this point.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. I think, a lot of people who are trans or in other marginalized groups, I think election times are one that's very precarious and often can instigate conflict because, if I have people in my life who don't understand the urgency of trans rights and why it's so important to be voting a specific way. And not because, I have a lot of family members who are like, hey, I didn't vote for the Republican. I just didn't vote for the Democrat. And it's like, I get what you're trying to communicate there, but what you don't realize is that any votes pulled away from the progressive cause are almost directly going to result in harm being inflicted on trans people. And it's hard to convince people it's that serious, but which is shocking when you see the rhetoric that people are using. But yeah, I think I was very surprised with the results. I mean, we don't have obviously all the results in, but I think it was significantly less scary than I thought it was going to be. I think we were able to, upset some trends of the midterm elections going really poorly, which is really nice to see. I think it's kind of sad that we have to celebrate. It didn't go as bad as we thought. Still not good, but not as bad as we thought. But, I'll take it, honestly. With the state of politics lately, I think that is a huge win and definitely put some fuel in my tank to keep going for the next couple of years, and get ready for what will surely be a huge 2024 election year. But yeah, if you're ready, sorry, I just realized I got a message from our producer Jimmy about trans people feeling discouraged, that there was a blowout and the GOP basically ran on fucking over trans people. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Sorry, I had to read that 8 times for me to process, but I understand now.
I was trying to do
their entire campaign is fucking over trans people for sure.
And that's
and
where
it gets people elected.
That's where the GOP was most successful.
Right, I see. And you're saying that's where the GOP was the most successful. Yeah, that definitely does not bode well for how they're going to probably handle future campaigns. But I don't think any trans people were under the illusion that the steam was going to let up anytime soon. I think we were all expecting that every election cycle going forward for a while is going to be increasingly hostile. So here's hoping that the public shows up and, makes our values known and makes our respect for science and evidence-based care known, because that's really what's important here. But with that said, we do have 4 callers already on the line, and I would love to get to everybody. So we do have, let's see, caller number 1 looks like that's actually directly related to Ben. So let's take this person first. We've got Alyssa in California. Alyssa, you are live on Transatlantic. What's going on?
I told the screeners I don't want to talk about friends in the military, but then I realized maybe we should talk about. Sorry, we should talk about how the VA deals with trans stations instead.
That's an interesting topic, and it's more difficult for me to engage with because I don't work a lot with the VA. I am going to be on a rotation with them in January. Do you have any experience with the VA specifically, or have any thoughts on that?
If I could pop in really quick, Alyssa. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I got to. I don't know if you're on like speaker or something, but the audio sounds a little garbled and far away. If you could pull off speakerphone or something, that would be great.
You're on my headset.
Oh my gosh, that's so much better. Thank you.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, it sounds different, but
yeah.
Cool. Glad it sounds better. Sorry, you can go now. Go on.
Yeah, I'm enrolled in VA healthcare. When I enrolled, I for some reason I didn't really think much of it, but I just mindlessly picked female when I asked.
I think we lost the caller. Alyssa, I don't know if we're having a connection issue or what's going on, but we just lost you, so I'm going to return you to the queue for now. Stay on the line. Try to find a better spot for connection in your house or change your headset or whatever you need to do. But we're going to move on real quick we're going to take a returned caller, Skylar, from last week. We'll see how this goes. I'm hopeful that it will be handled better than last time. What's going on, Skylar? Hello? Oh, okay.
So, you better. There we go. All right. So,
we can hear you.
I'm going to keep this really simple because the more I speak, the more like an idiot I sound like. So, I want to know my talk is crazy, but I basically want to know what your perspective is on being a trans person as, like, to me, as a not trans person. How did that sound? That sound good?
Sure.
It sounds fine. I just need a little bit more detail on what specific perspective you're looking for, because there are probably quite a few things that I might have perspectives on. Like, what is there a specific topic that you're interested in knowing about?
Yeah, I kind of want to know, like how did it start out? Kind of. I don't want to, I feel like this is trying to ask your life story. I'm not trying to, make you like spill all the beans or whatever. But like, what made you go? Something's weird. I need to go and like see something about this, and go through the whole process of doing whatever you did, or how, and like how did that lead to you being where you are today? It is a heavy topic, but I think that was what I was trying to get at the first time I called with Ben, and I couldn't really get my brain to go in that direction, unfortunately.
All right. You want to take a swing, Ben?
I going first?
Yeah.
For me, I for the longest time had no idea that trans people existed because I was raised very evangelical Christian, very, very sheltered. I've always been kind of androgynous. I would have been called like a tomboy as a kid, but like I didn't really adhere to gender norms a whole lot. But as I got older and started getting more involved in the theater, because I was in the theater since I was very little, I would of course be assigned to more female roles because that's what everyone proved me to be. They saw me as a woman, and so they would just naturally assign me a female role. And it was an interesting process there because it was not really the forefront of my mind that this was an issue, but I did not identify myself with those characters. I did not see myself in them at all. And I subconsciously would assign myself to male characters. Like whenever I would audition for male characters and didn't see disconnect between how I saw myself and how other people saw me, which was a little weird. And it took me several years, like even after my first year of med school, for me to really connect the dots and say, hold on, like there's something inconsistent with the way I see who I am and with the way society sees who I am, and tried to explore that a little bit more. And for me, it was a big question trying to unpack, am I not a woman, or do I dislike the way society treats women? So that was something I had to work out for myself. But also for me, figuring out, am I, because I was also taught that gay people weren't actually a thing. So I had to figure out, am I a butch lesbian or am I a trans man? Which sounds like a very weird dichotomy to have to think through. But for me, it was the label of woman that was more distressing to me, and also my body, specific anatomical features that were distressing to me, and not necessarily the gender expression. So that's what ended up leading me to say, well, I should at least explore what my gender identity is for myself. And the more I allowed myself to experience masculinity and experience the cultural and social role of a man, which, I mean, gender role is a whole separate topic in itself. But I became more comfortable with myself engaging with society as a man. And so that's kind of what led me to where I am. I know that's kind of a long process, but
that's great. No, that's exactly what I was kind of aiming for. Arden, do you want to tell your story a little bit? You know, like I said, I'm not trying to take up all your time.
Yeah, I mean, Reader's Digest version. I think for me, I grew up in definitely a very conservative area, a lot of toxic masculinity in my family. I think I didn't really know that I was a boy, or that I was assigned as a boy, until close to like pre-puberty. I think I knew when they said boys on one side of the room and girls on one side, which side I was supposed to go on, but I don't think it clicked in my head that meant that I was going to grow up to look like my dad or my uncle or something like that. Because for me, there were little signs along the way for sure. One of the big signs was when I hit puberty and my body started to change, I immediately went, oh no, this is super fucking wrong. And luckily I had been exposed to, the occasional 60-minute special or a Jerry Springer or that movie Transamerica with Felicity Huffman. I had been exposed enough to the concept of being trans that as a kid of the internet age, I was able to go, I need to look up whatever's going on, and was able to find information about trans people and determine that I was probably trans by about 14, I think was when I first came out to my mom. Sparing, again, too many of the details, I went through quite a big journey after that involving detransition, and trying to force myself to be as masculine as possible, and struggling with immense depression and suicidality and hospitalization over those things, until finally I realized the issue was that whether I liked it or not, I was trans. And the real thing stopping me was that society had taught me to hate trans people. And so I, in turn, hated myself. And I had to learn to really accept that whether I like it or not, or whether society treats me like shit over it or not, I just am trans as a matter of fact. And I needed to learn to love myself and trust the, medical expertise that transition care was going to be the right thing for me. And it was. And I am very grateful for the trans people and the medical experts who came before me, who were able to, ascertain that knowledge so that I could have a path forward, where a lot of people in the generation before me didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's really, like, that was, like, the main thing that I really wanted to know, because that, just that little bit of insight really does like, separate, you know, what a lot of people think trans people are and what it actually is. So I think that's what happened to me. Is I'm like, how do you know the difference between somebody who's going, hey, is just having, like, a bad day, and going, oh, I feel like or, like, something who's, like, your entire life, you're like, something is just weird, and I don't know what it is, but it's weird, and then you finally figure it out, and you can go, oh, I can fix this now, and then it works. Like, that's a big difference between that and, like, oh, I think I'm a woman. Like I feel like this is how we can better communicate, like, your struggle. And I really do appreciate your stories. Fortunately, my big dumb, I was trying to get to that last week, and then I did really big dumb things. Don't worry about last week. It was really weird.
Sure. I will say, though, while I understand what people are you know, complaining about when people say, I feel like a woman, and that's how I know I'm trans, and people kind of have issue with that. It sounds like that's maybe what you're referring to. The problem is there's not a lot of good ways to explain the trans experience. And the most reliable method that we have currently to determine whether or not someone is trans is their self-report. And while that's unsatisfying to people, that's the case for many clinical diagnoses. So it's really not unique in any way that trans people would say, hey, I think I'm actually a woman, or I think I'm actually a man, or I think I'm actually non-binary to their doctor, and then get recommended the necessary healthcare to follow. People make it sound when they say that like it's somebody on a whim waking up and going, I feel like a woman, I'm just gonna poof, turn into one. But that's not what's happening. They're conveying, like, the series of my life experience has informed that there's a discrepancy between my experience of gender and what people are perceiving me as. And therefore, I need to take steps to ameliorate that, or make peace with that, or take medical transition steps, or whatever that person might think is best for them. But yeah, I think there's a rejection of this I feel like a woman thing, but I don't think there needs to be, because that is basically the actual Reader's Digest version of what Ben and I just told you. You know, rather than stopping people to tell them their whole life story, they say, I feel like a woman. And that is what they're communicating, even though you didn't get every detail along the way.
That is true. That is the problem. But, I mean, like, that definitely helped for me, because, like to me, it definitely seems like the experience is something that it's ongoing. It's not just on a whim, like you're going from normal to one day, and the next day you're like, I'm a woman. No, the whole experience is, like, shifted by whatever that is. And I feel like that's, like, a key thing that we need to communicate when trying to communicate these things to trans folks and the like. And, you know, because I feel like a lot of times I hear you guys saying we shouldn't try to change their mind, and I'm like, yeah, there's probably some times where it wouldn't be worth the effort, but I feel like there's other cases where, you know, I mean, you guys, obviously, this is what you do. You want to change people's mind for the better, and I kind of want to do that here in Florida. You know, I mean, I'm in the heart of it, and I got some people I know who.
I do want to say, like, at least, of course, like, when I'm on this show, or when I'm on a platform where the goal is to have these conversations, like, of course, I'm going to step up and be more willing to share certain aspects of my life with the person I'm talking to. But something that I do want to communicate is that a lot of us constantly in our everyday lives, if I go out and say I'm a man, it's often met with that question of, well, what makes you think you're a man? Or, like, when did you decide to be a man? Or, like, how do you know you're a man? And it kind of gets exhausting after a while, like, having to repeatedly, like, tell people the story of what qualifies me to be a man, whereas any cisgendered man could walk around in society and never be questioned on whether or not they're a man. Or like if imagine yourself going out in public, and if someone saw your ID, like you're buying alcohol or something, and they noticed your gender marker and said, oh, what makes you qualified to be a man? And, like, why are you a man? Like, how do you think you would feel in that situation, or how do you think you would handle something like that?
Yeah, that would be a strange thing, but it does seem that the more you kind of look into the whole idea of like gender and sex, it really does become clear that it is rather arbitrary on how we determine it. And like, yeah, if you look through different cultures, I mean, they have different definitions and like different roles and all that stuff. There's really nothing fixed throughout all of humanity that really like is like standard man woman kind of thing. It's just, you know, they tended to do that thing. Men tended to do what we call men do that thing. Men tended to do this thing, and it just kind of worked that way. But yeah, I mean,
I also want to add really quickly. I think I appreciate what you're trying to say. If I'm going to be, you know, interpreting what you're saying in good faith, that like I think people on average are more persuaded to be in favor of trans people when they understand that there's this whole life experience thing behind it, right? And I don't think you're wrong about that. That is definitely true. But I don't like that we have to. And I think this is what Ben was trying to say. I don't think we should have to say more than I feel like a woman. Like, to be honest, even if someone wakes up one day and they say, I feel like a woman, like, I can't know the contents of their mind, and I can't determine their identity for them. So if somebody wakes up and it does seem like on a whim to everyone else, I don't know if that really matters. Like, quite frankly, I'm very pro autonomy. And I think if people wake up one day and they feel like they're a woman, they should be able to go through the steps necessary to, you know, experiment with what that's like, ask their friends and family to try new pronouns without getting much pushback. Like, I don't think you're saying that people can't do this or that it's a problem if people do it. But it sounds like you're saying like, oh, we should talk more about this life story stuff because that's more convincing to people. And while I agree with you, it shouldn't be. Like, it should be enough that someone said, I feel like a woman. And even if that seems like on a whim to you, it might not be. And until there's good reason to believe that trans people as a whole are inclined towards like predation or violence, there's really no issue with that, right? Because the pushback is always, oh, if someone wakes up one day and decides they're a woman, they're going to barge into bathrooms and start assaulting everyone, you know, in every fucking stall. But like, that's ridiculous. Even if people do wake up one day and just decide that day they're a woman, it doesn't follow that they're going to go assault people. That's absolutely ridiculous. And the people who do that to try and make a point are clearly not sincerely expressing a trans identity. They're trying to make a point of those things, you know? So I don't know. I appreciate what you're trying to say, but I just want to be like super clear that like, well, I agree these stories are convincing, and that's why, like Ben said, we're here doing this. It shouldn't. Just my say so should be enough. It really should.
You're right. I'm not saying I'm just saying where we are as like society right now is that's not being super effective. And you're right. Like, that should be the end goal. Is it would be like, hey, you're a woman, cool. Works for me, works for you, no problem. It's just, unfortunately, we are in a position where, you know, there's a lot of conservatives around, and if you just go around, like, I feel like the education aspect is definitely something that that worked for me, just watching you guys. And obviously, I know it's not going to be the easiest thing to go and get everybody to go, hey, go watch this show over here for people that you think are, like, weird. But, like I feel like just hearing your perspective already gives me a better way of explaining it to somebody. Who, if I was like trying to talk to somebody who was, you know, discussing this thing, I could be like, hey, I kind of get where they're coming from. And it is a lot more than just, oh, you know, this is something. And even if and then, you know, starting from there and then building from there, that this is something that they shouldn't really anyone should feel the need to challenge. And I mean, hopefully that would work. Sorry, my mind's wandering.
Yeah, my thought on this is that, like, while it is a very effective strategy, I do want to mention that, like, just by being trans, well, just by being trans does not mean that you are wanting to be an activist, nor do you have the obligation to be an activist. Like, sure, it might be effective if every trans person told everybody our life story, but that's kind of violating a boundary that we have as humans. And so there's certain platforms and certain times when it's appropriate to use these strategies. But I don't want trans people out there to think that they have to engage in these activities. They have to communicate their life story with everybody when they should not have that obligation at all. Like, they should have the right and the ability to just live their lives as people. And as long as they're not, hindering anybody else's right to live as people, then they shouldn't have to live with that anxiety of needing to defend themselves constantly when that might not be something that they want to participate in.
That is very true. It's very true. It's not something that anybody should have to go and be ready to prepare on a whim. But no, there is no but. That is just the truth of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have any more. That's all I have.
Sure. I appreciate, Skylar, that you called back and tried a different approach. I feel like this was a much more productive call, and I wasn't frustrated during this call, so I appreciate that you were open to a conversation. I like this approach a lot better. Cool.
Yep, it was just. I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But yeah, we're probably going to move on and take the next caller. But thanks for clearing things up and trying this new approach. And I hope if you have more questions, you know where to call back to. So thank you so much for your time, Skylar.
Absolutely. You guys have a good one.
All right. Bye. Okay. It's probably a good time to remind the audience that we're going through some calls right now, but at the end of our calls, around about an hour from now, we're going to move on to our super chat portion of the show, where y'all get to vote for hashtag Team Arden or hashtag Team Ben. With any super chat, $5 or more counts as one vote. If we get to 25 total votes, there is a punishment enacted, which I don't think we've decided what the next punishment will be, considering I spent so much time thinking about preparing for this punishment this time. So, but we can always work it out in post. Half an hour from now, we're trying to move a little bit faster. But yeah, so if you want to get your votes in, you can do that. But we're going to move on. We're going to try to get our caller, Alyssa, back in to see if we can hear her this time. Okay. Alyssa, you are back. I'm so sorry to have put you back in the call queue. Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's amazing how well a pile of dirt can block a cell tower.
Cool.
I was behind a hill, and as soon as I drove around that hill, cell tower.
Yep. So do you want to remind us where we were at your call? I know we were talking about, I think, the VA, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I lost my job, so I had to. My next alternative was go to VA healthcare. And whenever you transfer providers, it's a whole thing where you guys talk to the primary care provider, tell them your medical history and all that. So I was asked if I wanted to go to the women's health clinic or to just the regular primary care provider, and that just kind of surprised me because I didn't know there was such a thing. First of all, that they would treat women separately. And anyway, the part that I really want to talk about was how the VA isn't healthcare in general, but particularly the VA isn't really set up to deal with trans people, because they have to be down as a woman, which in and of itself is fine, but then they don't have any provisions for indicating that I'm a trans woman. So I get things like pap-smear reminders and and things like that. And every time I come in, I get asked. Every time I came in, I got asked, "When was your last menstrual period?" Until the doctor decided to mark me down as having had a hysterectomy. which eliminated that question from the system.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of hilarious, and I mean, the VA is well known across the medical system for being behind the trend with everything. They're even behind the regular military because the military currently is moving forward in a lot of ways regarding trans issues and trans medicine. But yeah, I mean, the VA I've had my own issues with the VA, not as a patient, but just as a clinician, like have VA providers not know how to take blood pressures properly and calling an ambulance to take people to the hospital for like things that they could have done themselves. But so, I mean, the VA is the VA. And I get that there's a lot of frustration behind them not recognizing trans people. And I'm not honestly sure how to fix it with the VA. It's a very tricky one because they have a very separate system. Oh, go ahead.
The paperwork now does ask for your assigned sex of birth and your gender. It has two separate questions now. It didn't when I signed up. So at least there's that.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're very slowly taking some steps to mitigate the situation. And I mean, like, ideally, your physician should be on top of their game anyway and should be able to ask appropriate questions. Because, I mean, they should be. And I made a whole video on this a while back about they should be asking things like, what are your medications? Have you had any surgeries? And, like, a lot, like the majority of trans people as adults can at least, you know, fit into one of those categories as having had some form of medical intervention. So like generally if someone says I'm on HRT, like that's kind of it. Hey, cool. Like maybe I should ask them more about that. So, I mean, it might be more of a failure with your specific provider or more likely it's a combination of that and just how far the system is behind. But I think like hopefully they'll catch up, but there aren't a lot of good ways to work within the VA just because it's such an isolated system. I don't know if Arden has any thoughts on this.
It seems like it varies by location. Because I was able to get speech therapy through them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, I think that's surprising to me because I think healthcare across the board doesn't really cover that kind of stuff. So that's interesting.
There were also support groups, but then COVID happened.
Right.
And you mentioned, speaking of HRT, my primary care provider wanted to keep me within the women's clinic, so rather than referring me to an endocrinologist to continue my HRT, she had me go to a gynecologist.
Interesting.
Did that work out for you? Was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
It does kind of add to the confusion when I go to the emergency department, for example, because you know she's had a hysterectomy and she's taking estrogen. It makes complete sense.
Yeah, I can see how that would lead to some interesting conversations or confusion for sure.
So then when I tell them that I'm taking estrogen not because I had this hysterectomy, but because I'm trans, they just get confused.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be confusing when your chart says that you've had like a hysterectomy and then you explain that you're trans. Like it makes sense why that would be done that way, but yeah, I can see how that would cause some confusion. Well, I don't know if you had a more specific direction regarding the VA, Alyssa, but if that's it, we might move on. We've got a few other callers that look like they're going to be a little spicy and potentially time-consuming. So I do want to make sure we can get everyone in.
Speaking of spice, Ben, go Navy, beat Army.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alyssa.
Okay, well, with that, we definitely have to let Alyssa go because, I mean, no disrespect to the Navy, but if you're going to come for Army while I'm live, then yeah. I mean, you can, if you want to say go Navy in your super chat, that's a vote not for me. So I don't know. I don't know if Arden has any military connection at all, but well, I mean, I know Matt was former Navy, so I guess that would be
Yeah, that's about as close as it gets for me. I've had some other family members that were in various branches of the military, but does not stick in my head. Never really. Anyway, I would love to get to Craig in Kentucky. This call looks like it could be very interesting. So let's pull in Craig. Pronouns are he, him in Kentucky. Craig, you're live on Transatlantic. What's going on?
Oh, hello. Thanks for taking my call. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yep.
What's going on?
Okay. So I love the concept of the show because I've looked a lot online trying to understand the whole transgender issue over the past few years. As obviously it's blown up in the mainstream. And I've not had any opportunities really to talk to anyone who's transgender. So this is a really cool concept for a show. But I guess what I'm trying to understand for the transgender people, it seems like there's people who are legitimately trans who are either have the gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder. And then it seems like there's this other majority group of people who call themselves trans who just seem to believe that gender is entirely a social construct. And if they don't fit within certain societal norms, then and they feel different, then they can suddenly be part of this whole marginalized group.
So one question, I'm curious. I know Arden's going to have some thoughts on this, but what stats do you have that would suggest that that fake group is a majority?
I don't have any stats on that it's just in terms of watching videos.
Okay, so you don't know it's a majority. So you don't know it's a majority.
Okay, I know it's anecdotal, but from the majority of what I have seen.
I don't care about your anecdotes. I care about stats. Like your bias might be a certain way in a certain area. You might be surrounded by certain people that you perceive to not be real trans people and perceive to be a majority. But without numbers, I don't think we can assign a majority label to it. So
I get it. So do you not think there's a part of the transgender community that a majority of them? Okay, so there was. Okay, I know you're gonna
stop using the word majority because you clearly don't have a majority.
Yeah, if I can hop in here for a second, Craig, I think I can get us on the direction that I think you're trying to take this call, which could be a good conversation. So we might have to throw out this notion for the time being of whether or not people are faking being trans, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't have access to the content of someone's mind. As far as we know right now,
sure.
Like many clinical diagnoses for like depression or various illnesses, like physical illnesses, the best way to determine whether or not someone has the illness in a lot of cases, and I'm not saying being trans is an illness, but like those things, the best way to determine whether or not someone's trans is by their self-report. And from that, we know that statistically we have great predictive the treatment of options available for trans people who claim a trans identity have great predictive success. Like 98% of people who transition don't detransition, and of those who do detransition, only a slimmer margin of that actually regret, right? So I know the right is often talking about, what if they detransition and regret? Because let me tell you, I'm a former detransitioner. And the reason is usually not about regret. It's not about being pushed through a medical system or anything like that. Most trans people are legitimately trans, and they are simply trying to live their life unimpeded by the society who's trying to deny us access to healthcare, deny us access to people get denied access to jobs. I know there was a study in the UK that said 1 in 3 employers would prefer not to hire a trans person because they think it would be bad for business. And I'm willing to bet those numbers would look pretty similar if you polled employers in the US, though I can't say for sure. But like this notion of the majority of people, trans people, are faking it, I don't know how you could ever know that or demonstrate that.
Right. That's difficult to do, and I don't have the data, like I said. I'm just going off what I've observed and what I've seen online on YouTube. Like Claire White was having a conversation with this other person, and I forget the video, but it was like a Vice video or something like that. But I thought it was pretty interesting. But it just seemed like trans people are those who feel like the opposite sex, who transition from male to female, female to male, and then there's.
So do you think that video that you saw is a good way to gauge the truth of reality?
It's one way.
Sure. Let's also take note of where your source is coming from, right? Because Blair White has almost for the past, I think, like 3 or 4 of her major videos that she's gotten viral for has been caught outright lying and spreading misinformation about the people she's talking about. So I don't know if Blair is really a great source for empirical data on whether or not trans people are faking their identity, right? I mean, we have what I just cited to you about that 98%. That comes from the largest study ever conducted on trans people, over 30,000 participants in that study. And your source was a notorious misinformation spreading person on a YouTube video. So like, how do we determine which one of us is right? Like, clearly you'd probably want some academic empirical sources that are peer reviewed, right?
Sure. Yeah. And what's that study?
That one was done by, I think it was the National Center for Transgender Equality, I think sponsored it. And it was from like Sage or something like that. If you hit me up on Twitter, I've got I don't know if you're on Twitter. If you're not, then I can't help you. I have a like pretty long list of academic studies and resources that I can send you that I've sent to several people in the audience. If anyone's here and has gotten those, pipe up, because it'd be cool to show off that like I have actually sent those.
Okay, and obviously for those who don't really know or ignorant and confused on this topic, hearing both sides pull out all these studies, it's overwhelming. And for someone who doesn't have a whole lot of time to spend researching, because I do obviously agree with you that the study is going to be more valuable than just a YouTube video or just an anecdote from me.
Sure.
But I guess this gets to the heart of what I wanted to ask, though, is... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do want to get to the heart of your question, whatever that may be. But when we're talking about both sides bringing up studies, right, there's only pretty much 2 studies that I've heard Blair White and the what I would consider the anti-trans movement cite. You'll hear the study on rapid onset gender dysphoria, which was retracted and discredited by the publisher. And then you have the study from Canada and Switzerland, which said that 90% of trans people desist. But as we talked about last week's episode, that study was pretty much debunked on the basis that how they were defining trans person was pretty much any kid who displayed aberrant behavior. So if a boy played with dolls and his parents were concerned, they would call that kid trans, when that's not at all what a modern diagnostic criteria would determine a trans kid to be. So there's really not studies backing up the other side, and our side is in alignment with almost every major medical organization.
Okay. I understand that's your viewpoint, obviously.
Well, no, that's just the fact. That's not a viewpoint.
It's the science, and anyone can claim that a study is siding with them when they're misquoting and cherry picking parts of an abstract and not actually reading the stats and honestly reporting on the stats. So the 2 sides are not equal, and this is a problem we see throughout the media. Is they'll platform 2 sides as being equally valid when one has no data to back it up, but yet they're viewed as, well, you have to look at both. No, you don't, because they are not equal in their validity. They're not equal in their predictive value for reality. So
fact isn't viewpoint. What I cited to you was empirical data that came from, academia and has been agreed upon by every major medical organization. These studies that you talked about, which you actually didn't mention any specific ones. I probably brought up the only 2 you could know, because there's only 2 that the gender criticals ever use. And the other thing you brought up was Blair White on a podcast. So like, that's not really a viewpoint. We're talking about a difference between an uninformed opinion and one that's rooted in the academic literature.
I mean, you might be right about that, but I just haven't assessed that for myself. So that's why I'm just saying I understand that what you guys are saying. That's your position. I don't know.
I do want to let you get to your heart of your question. I do want to let you get there, but I have to ask when you say something like that. Like, so you say you haven't assessed that for yourself. Do you, for every medical consensus opinion, right? Say for diabetes or for like bone cancer, do you have to go through every citation that the medical community agrees upon as being valid or meaningful, or do you just generally accept that specialists and doctors who have spent their entire life studying a field probably know way more about it than you do, and it's probably safe to trust what they say?
Well, I'm generally inclined to trust the experts.
Right. So why is it different?
That's my disposition, but then, well, yeah, because obviously I'm a layman. I don't know all this stuff. It's just
right. So if you're a layman, why wouldn't you just trust the experts?
Right, that's what I'm saying. But I've been hearing from both sides. Like, experts are saying different things. That's why I said for myself, I haven't.
But hold on, because you're not. No, and you're not. No, because you're comparing the experts who wrote the literature to somebody on YouTube with a podcast. That's not an expert. The people with the podcast are not experts. They are not trained in this area. They are. Yeah. No, they are not experts.
No, I wasn't.
So
I wasn't mistaken as an expert.
So then why are you why are you saying that these two sides are equal then if one has experts and one doesn't? There's not an equal credibility.
Okay. Because, like, Craig, can I pose a hypothetical to you? I would like to pose a hypothetical to you, Craig, right? So say we've got you've got a daughter who needs diabetes medication, right? And there is a growing movement. A few states have banned access to diabetes medicine for children, right? And the citation is that some people think that putting unnatural hormones in your kid is bad in general because chemicals are bad. And they don't actually have any papers, but they're being platformed by, major news organizations as if they have a valid viewpoint, even though they stand in opposition to the entire medical facility. And then somebody comes to you, right? Your kid needs this medicine and says, but I don't know, both sides have told me different things. Well, you would rightly look at them and say, I don't give a fuck what both sides have said. Those people don't know what they're talking about. The medicine, the experts agree on what this course of action is, right? So we don't have to treat them like they're equally valuable or like, oh, I'm just figuring it out because both sides are saying different things. No, the medical community is not confused about this, is not in debate about this.
Okay.
This is exclusively a thing that the both sides, the conversation, the debate on this is exclusively happening in people who are standing in opposition to all of the best medical care and the best medical experts.
Yep.
Okay, well, I don't think I said the sides were equal. I don't know because I don't have the time. I haven't done enough extensive research to look into all the different papers they're citing to be able to go. And usually they're behind the studies are usually behind a paywall too. So you only get the abstract, and I can't, always infer.
Well, but here's also an issue. It's like
you said, yeah.
Well, but that's something here too. Like, even if you were to get your hands on the research, so I'm someone that studies medicine. Like, I'm about to graduate, like 150 something days till my medical school graduation. I put in lots of time and work to learn how to read these studies, how to calculate the statistics, to know what a study is actually saying. Do you think that you have the background and experience to read a study like this and to be able to interpret it in a way that's going to be meaningful?
No, but I could get a sense of, in terms of what it's saying, and then compare that with what. Sure.
But if let's say you read a study and you get something out of it that disagrees with what the medical consensus is, should I take your way over the medical consensus because you got an idea of what the study said?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question. It broke up.
So if you read one of these studies and you say, well, I think I understand enough about what the study is saying, and this is what the study is saying, but then the medical consensus says, hold on, that's not what the study said. We've read this, we've peer-reviewed it, here's what it is actually implying. Would you change your mind and agree with the experts on that, or would you stick to what you thought the paper said?
No, I would change my mind because it sounds like I misunderstood it.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to approach it.
I do want to let you get to your point now, but I want to apologize. Okay. I know we're interrupting, we're jumping in, you're saying stuff, and we're like, wait. And I just want to clarify, the reason is because, like you pointed out, these conversations are not being had a lot, right? So when people hear someone disagreeing with medical experts, they digest it. They don't actually process it because they don't hear these conversations being had. And while I realize it's probably frustrating for us to keep jumping in on you, I just want to explain that the reason why is because we need to be so clear, because there's so much misinformation around trans people. We really need to be clear about the language we're using. You know, we're saying both sides have studies. Both sides might have studies, but they are not equivalent at all. And even the implication that that could be true is potentially damaging to trans people. I mean, trans minors just lost their healthcare in Florida because of a religion conversion therapy expert and a dentist were the expert testifiers. It's dangerous out there, and kids' lives are going to be ruined because of this misinformation. So it's really important to be super clear and accurate about the words we're using. And so I apologize if it's frustrating having this call with us jumping in all the time, but I just wanted you to understand why we're doing that. And hopefully you can understand that it's important.
Yeah, I understand what you're getting at. Yeah, like I said, I haven't done the research with all the studies because it's just, I hear both sides and I'm like, well, where do I start? I don't know. But
sure.
So with me trying to understand the whole issue, it kind of hinges on what people mean by gender. And obviously it's kind of interchangeable because gender's become a euphemism for sex in our country. But I do understand there's a differentiation between them. So I get that, like, gender is the psychological aspect of how people internalize or express their sex. And humans are a sexually dimorphic species. So there's two sexes, right? Male and female, and gender has the two, the masculine and feminine. That's kind of the typical behaviors or characteristics or psychological temperaments that are abstracted away from the sexes. I guess it's a long way of getting around to saying, like, how do you guys, I guess, define gender, and what do you base it in, and what is it rooted in for you? Because there seems to be, like I said, that majority who say transgender or gender is entirely a social construct. So then therefore it's not really rooted empirically or grounded in anything in the real world that would sort of limit the concept. And they just be able to invent these genders of, like, pangender, agender, bigender, truce, or whatever that is, two-spirited. And I'm like, how many genders are there? And how do you know how to enumerate them? Because what are you basing it on?
Sure.
Does any of that make sense?
It does make sense. And we're gonna put aside the majority thing again, because we already talked about that. But so your question is, how do we define gender, right? And I think it's important to note that when people are saying gender is a social construct, what they're talking about is not your gender identity, which is, I feel like a woman, I feel like a man, I feel non-binary, or whatever. When people say gender is a social construct, we're talking about the roles in society, right? How we define where these lines are for the roles in society. That is usually what people mean when they say gender separate from anything else. When people are talking about, I am a woman, I am a man, I am non-binary, we're talking about gender identity. And while there is maybe some disagreement in exactly what that is, I typically view it as a durable psychological construct. You could view this as very similar to the notion of being right-handed or left-handed. It is, you can't point to it in the brain, or being gay or straight or whatever. You can't point to it in the brain. There's no real gene that seems to indicate why you are that way. There may be theories about, hormones in utero that could be impacting this. But there's not really any clear distinction as to why someone is a gender or a sexuality, or why they're left or right-handed. All we know is that once that construct is set, it's pretty stable throughout someone's life. Now, some people might experience gender fluidity or something like that, but even then, that's typically a constant thing. The sense of fluidity is constant throughout their life, right? There was never a point in my life where I felt like a man. I have always felt like a woman, even when I was trying to be a man. So I think it's important to understand the distinction between gender identity, which is what we're talking about when somebody says I identify as, from the notion that gender as a whole in society is a social construct, meaning that what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be non-binary in society is very up for debate and abstract and reinterpreted through time.
So like the gender expression, gender roles, gender norms, those are kind of societal element of gender, but underlying that is a thing called gender, which is what you're calling the gender identity. The gender identity is identifying that gender. There's something there. And that's why if, you said you felt as a woman, right? You always felt like a woman.
Yep, exactly.
Did I get that right? Or okay. Yeah. So that was something you can't change about yourself, in which you felt probably the dysphoria about, the distress. I get that, but then I don't get the agender, bigender, pangender, gender fluid, like what is a non-binary? Because what is that rooted in? Because you're saying that's a gender identity, but it's identity for I don't understand how you ground that too.
I want to give Ben a chance to talk here, but I do have something I want to say here, and that's, so when we're talking about, the people have attributed certain regions of the brain to gender identity, right? It's not super good science yet. I don't like to cite this too often, but something I'll talk about when we talk about those studies is that when you're looking at the graphs for the potential volumes in like people assigned male or female at birth, there's significant overlap there. And I think what that elucidates, in my opinion, is that there's a threshold, right, where somebody's sense of gender is, oh, I can clearly identify I'm a woman. I can clearly identify I'm a man. It's really not another leap at all to identify that somebody could be so squarely in the middle of that range that their sense could be, I probably could be a man or I could be a woman, but it makes the most sense to separate myself from both those groups. And I think it's also important to note that, sorry, just really quick. I think it's also important to note that I don't necessarily understand every niche gender identity label, right? I don't feel like I have to understand someone's gender for them to be deserving of accessing, dignity, to be referred to correctly in the workplace, to access the healthcare that they have decided with their doctor is the right path for them. I don't think I need clarity on exactly where their gender lies in relation to mine to think that that person deserves healthcare and respect in society.
Okay, but then you were talking about the non-binary part. This makes it sound like that's them rebelling against social norms, societal norms.
So no, it's not related. Well, it's not about the social norms. Like, again, let's separate these out. So again, we talked about gender being something that is like more sociological, and then gender identity is something that's more psychological. So they're two kind of separate realms here. But when it's very difficult to communicate exactly what it means to feel like a certain gender. And so you do have some people, like Arden was saying, that fit squarely in the middle and can't really determine which side they fall on. And then with regard to agender people, you have some that it does not compute to be a man. It also does not compute to be a woman. So then you have not this box and also not this box. And it's not related to it might be, their expression might be related to how they want to be seen in society. So they might have that sociological aspect as well. But when we're talking purely about the psychological aspect of being non-binary, that is not related to them rebelling against gender norms. The gender norm does not play in. It is just the sense of self. It is the am I man or am I woman, or neither compute, somewhere in the middle computes. That's it. That is what we're talking about. Does that clarify a little bit?
I don't know how to grasp. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And you might not be able to grasp it. And like Arden was saying, like I honestly, when I think about it, it does not compute to me how anyone could be a woman. I have no clue how someone could identify with being a woman. But it doesn't matter to me. My brain does not know how to process that information. But it's okay. I don't need to know how to process that because that's not what my brain's going to do. And it does not mean that I should say, well, I don't understand why you could feel like a woman, so you can't be that. You have to be the way my brain works. It kind of seems like your brain is trying to make other people's brains like your brain, and it's not going to happen. And you're just, you know what? It's uncomfortable, but you're going to have to get comfortable with saying, I don't understand this, and that is okay. Otherwise, you're just going to be miserable about other people
being fooled or people are peddling BS.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. People could lie about being trans, right? People could lie about having depression. People could lie about having pain. People can lie about anything to gain.
Not only lie, people can be mistaken. They can be wrong about themselves. Their memories are unreliable, and people's self-reports are unreliable. Maybe not always.
Well, that's not entirely okay. There's more reliability if you can have some sort of biometric test, but that doesn't mean that self-report is unreliable or that we should toss out self-report, right? I hear what you're saying. People can lie or be mistaken or whatever. That is a possibility. But the reality is that and this is I think what I was trying to say earlier, is that the most reliable way to determine whether or not someone is trans that we have currently is their self-report. And that reliability is so strong that the treatments that we have better predictive power, more successful predictive power, like more efficacious treatment than it is for a lot of other things that are commonplace. Like, I think it's totally fine to talk about, how do we know the content of someone's mind? How do we know if they're honestly self-reporting? That's a fine conversation. But the issue is, it always seems to be, how do we know that trans people are being honest, and not how do we know that someone getting a prostatectomy is being honest about they want this, or that they have discomfort? How do we know that someone with a knee replacement is being honest? That's never the conversation, even though those things have significantly higher regret rates significantly higher regret rates. But we're here talking about trans people, right? So to me, that reads as, clearly, there is a deeply rooted societal prejudice where, even though this could be an honest conversation, if it were an honest conversation, we would not just be talking about trans healthcare. We would be talking about every clinical diagnostic thing ever. And we're not. We never talk about that. We're always talking about trans healthcare. Well, how is that anything other than prejudice?
Well, something like I was going to. Yeah, go for it. I'll jump in after your response.
I said, how is that anything other than prejudice? Because you didn't call in to talk about how do we know people are being honest when they're getting prostatectomies? You called in to ask, how do we know people are, how do we know a non-binary person is honest when they're talking about their trans identity? Like, but you don't have that view for any of the other significantly more concerning rates of regret for other things. So, like, how is that anything other than prejudice?
Well, I would say it was curiosity, not prejudice, that led me to call into the show.
Sure. Craig, I think you've been a very honest caller. I've actually really enjoyed this call. We had a similar caller last week who was very dishonest and rude. We hung up on him right away because he was being a jackass. He didn't want to actually have a conversation. You're not doing that. I wasn't asking you to suggest that you are being prejudiced or to try to make you feel like I'm being a bad person. That wasn't what I was saying. I'm saying, yes, we can sit here and have this conversation about how do we know that self-report in medicine is reliable enough to give treatment. That is a conversation worth having, right? But we're not actually having that conversation. Yeah. Because if we were actually having that conversation, we'd be talking about other things too. But we're only talking about trans stuff here, which suggests that trans people are uniquely more dishonest.
Well, but and the fact that it's interesting that we want to take this very medically focused topic about what physicians are doing with their patients and making that a commonplace. Laymen are just going to debate whether or not a doctor can treat their patient. Like, what gives you the ability or authority to make those decisions? Why are you stepping into my practice without a license? Like, it is practicing medicine without a license, essentially, to be arguing about the medical standards of care when this isn't any of your goddamn business. Like, and I get that there's people are curious about it, but But like without the necessary training and expertise and medical data, why do you feel the need to insert yourself into whether or not my patient is being honest with me and whether or not my diagnostic ability is up to par? Like, that sounds like it's a conversation for me and my medical board, the people who are experts who supervise what I do with my patients, and they can evaluate, hey, are you following the standards of care? Are you going along with the data? Like, sure, that is their job. They have the information, they have the expertise to have that conversation with me. I don't think the general public has a really good reason to step into that conversation with me about what I'm doing with my patients.
Well, I think there's been an overprescription of opioids that show that's not always reliable to just go with what the medical.
Okay, so yeah, there's the issue with that, but also, what are you going to do about it? What do you like with issues like that? You're inserting yourself into a very nuanced conversation. There's a lot of nuance with opioids, and that was actually a place I was going to go with this discussion. Is pain. Like, pain is something that is very subjective that we do make decisions on, and there's this misconception that everything has to be objective in order to be worthy of treatment, and that's not true, because we do have pain, and I think this is relatable to your concern, because you do have people who lie about being in pain. That is a real risk you get. But when we're seeing a patient and we're thinking about what the best course of action is, we're not just blindly throwing out painkillers at people. We go through a diagnostic process to determine the risks and benefits for giving them certain pain medications. And that's going to be different for every person. But it's more nuanced of a conversation than people are willing to give it, right? So the pain prescription I might give to one person might be different than somebody else. And just because one patient lied about their pain level does not mean that I'm going to deny everybody else pain medicine, right? That's unreasonable.
No, but right, you assess that on the individual. I get that.
Right. So that's what exactly is happening here with trans people. Yes, we are assessing them on an individual basis. And something that, like, I've heard people say, well, doctors aren't differentially diagnosing. Well, that's from a fundamental misunderstanding of what differential diagnosis is. I don't need to do a full, like, head to toe physical exam to diagnose somebody differentially. I'm thinking about that as soon as somebody walks in the room. The second I start talking to them, I can gather information about who they are, what their story is, what they're coming in for. There's a lot of information I can gather from that. And so the fact that I'm not describing to you every second of my diagnostic thought process doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means that I'm doing that, on my own. And I have my notes that the medical boards can see that I don't necessarily show every patient. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going through that same thought process every single time. So I think people are inserting themselves in a place that they don't need to insert themselves into.
Craig, I got to jump in because we've been on this call for 30 minutes, and this has been a really interesting conversation. I wish we could keep going because I think this is actually making some progress, but we are getting pretty close to the end point of the show. So if we can stick a pin in this and you can call back on another week, I would love to continue the conversation. I appreciate that you have been, I feel like, an honest interlocutor. You've been engaging with us and you've been receiving the information we give you and not just swatting it aside completely. So thank you for having an honest conversation. You can have like a last word or whatever if you want.
Oh, I was just going to say, appreciate the time. I would have left with the last word that maybe something to think about, but I don't want to take up too much time. So thank you. All
right. So thank you so much, Craig. We are, have a nice day. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully. Okay, so I wish we could get to the rest of the calls on the line, but unfortunately that call took up so much time that I think we're gonna have to move right on into super chats. I'm really sorry to everyone who's in the call queue. Please do call back next week. I would love to get to you. But I mean, this show is designed to have conversations with people like Craig. I think that is the most impactful to our audience, and that's why we spent so much time there. So I hope you'll forgive us for not getting to talk to you, and you understand where we're coming from. But with that, I think it's time that Ben and I have to, unfortunately, do our punishment. So
I got it right here. I got them. My green screen's messing with the label, but it doesn't look this disgusting. But
I've got peanut butter on this. I feel like I'm going to be sick even thinking about this.
I know this is the time when the human trash can...
This is where this show has gone.
Yeah, like I'm a human trash can, but this is gross even for me, which is impressive.
Maybe explain.
And the last time I did this, I didn't even do a whole
shot
shot of it.
Maybe explain what you're about to put in your body.
So for my punishment from last week, our viewer James, I think, recommended this. It is peanut butter, relish, and mayo in one sandwich, which to me sounds like probably the most disgusting thing I can imagine. So I've got some relish here, putting on some mayo. Oh, I can smell it. It's so bad.
I have Malort.
God.
So this is what it looks like in the bottle. It's very yellow. This is apparently a Chicago tradition. And the last time I tried it, it tastes like gasoline in a used condom. And I'm expecting nothing less today.
Let's be real. Arden definitely is getting the worst end of this deal.
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely getting the worst
I would happily
eat
that sandwich over this.
I literally have a barf bucket by my side to prep for how horrible this is going to be. So, all right. I think this sandwich is... Oh, God.
Send super chats, $5 or more.
Are we doing this? I'll wait for Arden to be ready. We'll do this at the same time.
Okay.
Oh, I'm definitely chasing this with some Coke Zero.
All right. Are you ready, Ben? 3...
Yeah, my hand's shaking.
1.
Arden, you look like you kind of like it.
I will say it's significantly less bad than I was expecting. Like, significantly. It's still not good, though.
The word you just said could be the bio on my Tinder account. It's not as bad as it seems, but it's pretty awful. I'm
going to go for a second bite just to be sure, because it actually wasn't.
I'm not doing a second shot of that.
How much would people have to donate that you would eat the whole sandwich?
If we get another 500, I'll go for it.
That might be asking. That might be asking much, but
that's asking for a lot.
You know what? Hey,
if we get another 500, I will do 3 shots of Malort. Actually, just kidding. I have to drive later. I would do 2 extra of Malort.
Okay, I have to apologize to James because I will say, for all of my gagging and anticipation, that was actually not that bad. I see people in chat saying I like it.
I definitely got the bad end of this. I definitely got the bad end of this. Like, I still taste that shot.
Do you like?
And Arden knows what this tastes like. Arden tried this. Arden tried this.
Would you say you like don't like it, but you're excited to like whip this out at parties and be like, y'all, let's take some bets. Let's do whoever can eat the most of this sandwich, because you already know you've got it.
I probably won't do that. I don't think I'll ever do it in the future. I think in hindsight, I guess this is basically like tartar sauce and peanut butter. So
do you think Matt would try it?
So can I describe the aftertaste that I'm getting right now?
Yeah, go for it.
Like you know the flavor like after you vomit and it's just the flavor of stomach acid in your mouth? That's what I'm getting. I'm getting very strong notes of post-vomit stomach acid.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I definitely remember we did those shots on Pride, and it was about as bad as as Ben is describing. It was pretty horrible.
Matt, if you're watching, go take a bite.
This is like the worst part too.
I don't know if he's listening. Oh, I saw him in the chat earlier, but I don't know if he's still listening. You can come try it, babe, if you're around. Oh. And look, Daphne didn't crawl on my computer tower once this whole episode. She's been sitting back there like a good baby. So proud of you. Thank you for not trying to ruin the episode. Okay. The punishment is done. Let's move on to super chats.
Why don't we do like, instead of 500, how about like anytime somebody donates at least $30, she'll take another bite.
Wow. Only because we don't have another punishment lined up. I will, sure. If you donate, I'm guessing they can hear you too as you're saying that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the punishment for next week?
$50 and Matt will come try it.
Yeah, Matt said, did someone donate to make me try it? Well, they're going to now.
$50, Matt will come in and try it too. Yeah, Ben, I don't know. Do you have a roommate? Do they have any gross food that we could make you eat by the spoonful for donos right now?
No, but I'm a human trash can. So it's like,
yeah, he'll eat anything.
I eat anything.
I
would have finished that sandwich by now.
Do you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
And announce it on next week's episode or something.
I could obtain the worst MRE in the army and eat that on like the beef patty. I'll eat an MRE beef patty.
That'd be funny.
Do you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Ben?
I don't.
Look up what a grilled Charlie is and tell me if you would eat that.
Oh, is Matt here? Are you gonna try it?
I feel like you're turning this show into Fear Factor.
We are a little bit.
Oh, hell yeah, I would do this.
Wait, no one donated $50.
This isn't even a challenge.
$50. What happened?
Oh, Jimmy's saying nobody donated $50 yet.
Oh, well then I'm not coming in to eat it. I thought I had to come up.
Come on, somebody's got to do. You should sit here and wait.
Jimmy, the grilled Charlie isn't even a challenge. Like, you got to give me things that are actually gross.
You're down for that?
I like tartar sauce, and so that
wouldn't even be a challenge.
Yeah, here, I'm going to unplug so everyone can hear you that way. Or you can hear
we could all hear him already.
Yeah, you guys could hear him, but he couldn't.
Now I hear myself.
Is the volume down enough? I think it's fine, right?
Maybe. It's a little bit but it's all good.
I'll do the next one. I'll do Birrios. I'll eat Birrios.
All right, we got it.
There it is, Kathleen. All right.
Kathleen,
this was for a
up.
bite, not to eat the whole sandwich, but this is for the bite. I'll take a big bite.
It's not as bad as I was anticipating.
Oh, he does not like that.
That looks more like the face I would make, but I hate pickles.
Oh, no. I have a vomit bucket if you need it. Oh, God. You look like you're in pain.
This makes more sense to me.
Oh,
I love that she's laughing so hard at him while he's in pain. Poor Matt.
He's evil.
That's weird because I didn't think it was that bad, and I hate pickles.
The problem is that I decided to take a big bite, so you can't just do the let me swallow it because it's fucking peanut butter, and so it's just sticking in your mouth. Peanut butter and pickles.
Were the sesame seeds important to the sandwich, or was that just the bread?
What was that?
Were the sesame seeds like a part of the official sandwich, or was that just because that was what you had?
That was just because that's what I had. I got home and I didn't even have fucking bread, so that's a hamburger bun.
Well, thank you to whoever donated. It doesn't look like I'm going to vomit, and so I'm going to call that a win.
What a good job.
Jen wants to know if you'll do a second one for $50.
No.
You would all have to pay me we're talking 4-digit numbers for me to do a bite. I'm talking.
My room office
So
I've
for my punishment, if I lose this week, I will eat Birrios the next time I'm on with Arden.
Birrios. Do you
pour
dislike beer
on Cheerios and eat it like cereal.
Do you dislike beer? What's making this a thing?
I'll make it a really gross combination of cereals. It's really bad if it gets soggy really fast. And if you pick a sweet cereal with most beers,
all right, I got it. Corn
absolutely
Chex.
Nasty.
Corn Chex would be better than Cheerios. By that I mean worse.
Corn Chex wouldn't be that bad.
No, it would, because I've done it with juices before in the past, and it almost creates a little pouch. So you bite each Chex, and it's got like a liquid filling.
I will. Okay, so I'll do Corn Chex and whatever beer people think would be the grossest combination.
Guinness.
And I'll do that. I'll do Guinness and Corn Chex. I will do that.
Cereal beer. I feel It's so flavorful.
Yeah, I'll do it. That will be my punishment next time. Corn, Chex, and Guinness as a cereal.
All right, let's get
Corn,
this shit
Chex,
started.
Guinness. Hey, Claire, Team Arden, way to kick it off. Thank you. Thank you. I suffer, but it is rewarded. Thank you, Team Arden, for showing up. Well, we'll here. Somebody can give some suggestions for what we should eat. I mean, like I'm a little bit picky, so fact.
I forgot which button fixes this. Hang on, was it this one? There we go.
Hey,
there you go. You got it.
Cool.
And Arden, what's your next challenge for losing?
Oh God, I'm gonna watch chat and see if they have suggestions because my brain is a little too frazzled by the panic attack I had before I bit into that sandwich. So, I don't know yet. We could do I could do some birria. We could both do birrias if we want because that sounds pretty fucking
both
awful.
do birrias.
Okay.
I would suggest maybe something that could. Arden loves Taco Bell, and there's gotta be a way we could ruin that.
No. Why? Oh no.
Cause I'm mean.
Okay.
What's your favorite taco?
Ass tacos.
What's your favorite taco?
I love a cheesy gordita crunch with black beans.
All right, so chat, what's the best thing we would put on a cheesy gordita crunch to ruin it? And it can't be meat because Arden is vegetarian. So no meat products, but what would you?
Marshmallow fluff.
I almost feel like I would just go with peanut butter and relish again, but whatever.
Yeah.
Marshmallow fluff.
Taco Bell with peanut butter. People joined you in on that right away. Ghost chilies. Oh my God. No, you're really trying to make me cry. I would do a spicy thing because usually I feel like I can handle it even if I'm like in immense pain. But that could be funny.
I love spicy challenges. So like it's hard finding food challenges for me because I just eat everything. It's a problem.
So you got like taco with
€5
gummy worms, and I'm like crunchy bread with gummy worms. That sounds great. I don't know what you're talking about.
€5 from Yasmin Meadowflower. I think that my booze needs mayo. Hashtag Team Drunken Mayo. There's a type of shot that has like warm mayo as one of the ingredients.
I gagged.
Forgot the other ingredient. It's nasty though.
Yeah, I can't tell actually. I was thinking about that. Team Drunken Mayo.
Probably Arden because it's Team Mayo.
Yeah, Yasmin, if you're in the chat, clarify.
Oh, this is worse than I thought. It's warm mayo and Jaeger.
Warm mayo and Jaeger. That sounds pretty bad. I don't mind Jaeger, but it's rough.
All right, I think
with mayonnaise.
Here's my proposal. You know those gross little licorice candies that like look like little pieces of cake or little pieces of sushi? So you take a gordita crunch, you cover it in peanut butter, and then you stick those in the peanut butter.
That would actually work because Matt loves licorice, and we got some the other day, and I was like, this is fucking awful. I can't believe you like this. And he's just like popping them in his mouth.
I don't get people.
I love them.
I don't get why so many people in this world pretend to like licorice just to gross us all out because it's not real.
No, I love it. I love it.
The majority of
people.
people.
Frat hazing challenge. Let me tell you, frat hazing challenges actually involve getting blindfolded and spanked with a paddle and told to say, "Please, sir, can I have another?" I would know because I literally went through it.
Hashtag human trash can.
I heard on a podcast that the majority of people, and we did get clarification, that point was for Arden. I heard on a podcast that the majority of licorice likers are faking it. You don't get it?
Yeah, I'd love to see your
data. That's a callback.
Because I mean, it doesn't matter because I'm still gonna like it.
I was like, oh, what, like Blair White, like that one dude? Yeah, okay.
This is a callback joke. That. Jesus Christ, when am I ever serious? Ever?
Okay, let's hit these super chats. We'll clarify later down the road what this punishment is.
I liked my idea.
5 pounds from Sean Isherwood. The continued fraction 1 divided by 1. 1 plus 1 divided by 1 plus 1 divided by 1 plus ad infinitum, I guess. And so on, alternating between addition, division, ad infinitum is the golden ratio.
I actually understand this one for once.
I don't.
Do you know what the
But
golden
I'm
ratio is?
I've heard of is that the loopy thing?
Yeah. And so the way you calculate it is +1 divided by 1, +1 divided by 1, +1 divided by 1, but all contained within parentheses.
Okay. Interesting.
Ooh, wait, let's do the one I said with the Gordita Crunch, but let's throw Pop Rocks inside the Gordita Crunch.
Yeah, that sounds great. I like this.
And you have to dip the whole thing in milk.
Dip the whole thing in milk?
Yeah, it can be a nut milk if you prefer.
Well, it'll have. I only
Jimmy's a sadist.
No, that'll be funny. I get it. It's fine. We'll do we'll do some weird ass gordita taco. I'll even have it be a normal gordita taco with like cheese and the spicy ranch, and then all of these candy things.
Then we'll use a cookie
ranch.
cutter to cut it out in just a little circle, and we'll wrap it in seaweed and rice. We'll make it a sushi.
Okay.
Jimmy's just taking this to all different levels.
It's like Bat said when he walked in, he's like, "Are you guys turning the show into Fear Factor?" That's what it feels like.
Clearly, I've missed my calling. Where did we
harassment.
Here we go.
30. I can't see what currency this is from.
Shekels.
Naughty.
It's shekels.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Oh, it's shekels. Okay. Fun. Had an event at work. They brought 2 stand-up comedians. Both joked about having a difficult time to date. For Prof said only one girl and a trans. One used the T word. It had no idea what to do. # Team Cats. That sounds awful. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, that's so shitty. And it's such a low-hanging fruit, too. Like, I think people laugh at that kind of stuff, not even because it's funny, because they're just genuinely shocked that somebody would say that word out in public. And it's like they're just a defense reaction to like giggle about it.
Yeah.
But
YouTube Cats, Shorts is full of little like stand-up clips of where the punchline is basically, so a trans person exists. And it's like I you know, as an ally, I'm annoyed, but also as someone who thinks he's a little bit funny, your laziness bothers me even more. Fucking
yeah, so true. Oh, I love how sweet Daphne's being for once.
Come on, Team Ben, let's get it going. We're losing today.
Wait, is this one me? Alyssa?
Yeah.
Newman? Again, I keep watching a video on pronouncing it so I don't fuck it up, and I'm probably still doing it. And I hope if we ever meet, you smack me across the face like one time really hard for how many times your name got butchered on this show. The video always gives the false impression that there are 2 equal sides and reinforces the notion by showing it as Bill Nye versus some guy. # Team Felines. Let's go. Team Arden.
Where's Team Ben? They really want some Barrios.
And I think I really appreciated the call with Craig today too, because I feel like he was receptive to the notion of like, hey, look, I know you're hearing different things from multiple sides, but those things are not equivalent. And even if he still held on to that belief, I feel like it actually like landed with him, which is nice. It's more than I can say for a lot of people that we engage with on the show and in the debate sphere, you know. So cool. Thank you, Alyssa. As always.
$10 from James Call. The sandwich will change Arden's life. I mean, it changed it. The question is, was it for the better or for the worse? And that I just don't know.
I think it's a net neutral, to be honest. I'm like, wow, I tasted that. That's how I feel about it. It's not a good thing. It's not really a bad thing. It was an experience. It's definitely not a good thing. You're curious now? Go for it. Try it. Wait, is this one? Okay. 5 Canadian from Nonsense Aficionado. Thank you both, Arden and SDV, for the show. You both rule, but Ben gets the # Team Ben, # Team Pebbles for gasoline out of a used condom. Nice. See, I'm glad our suffering earns us favor from you all. That's great.
$5 from Caden Paulson, # Team Ben for that shot. Liquor's gross, beer is good. Liquor's usually good. This one was not.
Yeah,
beer is also good, but I appreciate the vote. Yeah.
I don't
This
get
one's nasty.
why do so many people pretend beer is good too? Beer tastes like if you unsweetened
I
a
love
banana and carbonated it.
I love
kind of get
beers.
what you mean. I know a
And
lot
then
of people
peed
hate
it.
on because I like IPAs, but I'm like, it's like it makes me think of coffee. Like I like a strong coffee because I kind of want it to punch me in the teeth, to wake me up. I want a strong tasting beer because I'm like, if I'm gonna fucking drink this like aged oat water or whatever, like I want it to like really hit me, But
I'd like to be
whatever.
depressed for the next 4 weeks. How about I just down a 6-pack by myself?
Hey, Electric Jellyfish, the Austin IPA is fucking amazing. I love it, and I
need to
get
try
it
that
every
one.
chance I can. So
I
Your
love
good.
standards
IPAs.
are low because you're comparing
$5.
it to beer.
$5 from Adrian Gunter. # Team Arden. # Team Mayo. I guess
Let's
fine.
go. Team Arden is sweeping the game today. I love it. Thank you so
No,
much.
this
$20
is
from
brutal.
Crystal Edward, just sending to support you both for going through with the punishments. Thank you. I actually have my potato sack for the next time Katie and I are on together too. It's here in the house waiting for that episode. I just don't know when that's going to happen again because Katie's had shit going on. So
$10 from Medic Keaton 73. I will donate to get Matt to try # Team Arden. Great show, Arden and Ben. All these Arden votes. They
Hell
really want
yes.
some Barrios.
They do. They really want to see you eat Cheerios.
Want them.
€5 from King Nick 1994. Donation to watch Matt try Arden sandwich on camera. Nice. I hope you enjoyed it. I think his reaction was, I feel like, more of what you all were looking for from me, but I think we had the same opinion on it. Basically, it was like, okay, tartar sauce is not that bad, I guess.
For charity, I have eaten a pickle, I've tried sushi, and I've drank a carbonated drinking vinegar, of which I think I threw up. I think I spat out the sushi because I just couldn't, but I think I threw up the other two.
Sushi's very hit or
I've
miss.
eaten-
I don't think I could do carbonated vinegar.
The weirdest thing that I've eaten on a stream for a charity fundraiser was I did put ranch on Cocoa Puffs. And that was, I think, the worst thing I've done.
That's pretty bad. I would say that's pretty
It's
bad.
pretty
That's
bad.
up there.
Yeah.
Thanks, King Nick. I think this one's to you, right?
I read the last one, I think.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I'll
669 Canadian from Rebus Wind. As a sadist and an alcoholism enabler, Ben is clearly suffering more. So I will # Team Ben this time. So he will do it again to get the vote. You know what? That's fair. Ben did suffer. He needs some pity votes. So by all means, give him a couple. It's fine.
I
Ben's
need
a
a
scam
couple pity
artist.
votes, yeah.
This is all a scam. Ben's getting y'all to pay him to get drunk.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Thanks, Rebus.
It's only one shot. 50 Canadian from Kathleen. Come eat the sandwich, Matt.
Nice.
So that one with
yes,
Matt. And
thank
he
you,
did it.
Kathleen.
He delivered.
He did deliver. Another 5 Canadian from Nonsense Aficionado. At Matt, eat the sandwich bite, please. Nice. So many people showing up to see Matt suffer as well. I love it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, maybe we've been doing this all wrong. We get the most super
Yeah,
chats
make the
when at
cis
the
people
end,
suffer.
torture cis people at the end of Transatlantic, and that's the way
Yeah.
to do it.
People are like, oh, it's so cool. You guys have honest discussions here. And it's like, yeah, and we also torture cis people at the end.
I'm going to start reading the ones where you all don't know whose turn it is.
5 Canadian from Aaron. You're both great this week. # Team Good Sports. Fence sitting. That vote goes nowhere, but thank you so much for your donation.
We're both losers.
I just hope both teams have a good time.
$5 from Adrian Gunter. # Team Ben. # Team Coke Zero. Hell yeah.
Wow.
I will accept the Coke Zero vote.
Hey, Team Arden, we had such a good lead, but Ben is catching up. How could you let this happen? I just ate this fucking relish sandwich for you guys.
I can't believe you've
$5
done
from
this.
James Call. # Team Arden. Thank you, James. You're the best. It was all for you.
All for James.
All for James.
$10 from Willow Wisp. It would help to not have a gag reflex.
That would also be
I mean-
good on my Tinder profile.
Nice. I wish I could say that applied, but I have an extremely sensitive gag reflex, so nope. Like even the thought of touching that sandwich was making me gag. But thank you, Willow.
Hang on, I'm looking for one. Someone said that I missed one from Sean, so I'm trying to find.
Ooh, more
it.
math.
Aha.
Math things.
20
pounds.
Oh wait,
think
did
it's
you
me.
not just do
Is
that
it?
one?
Oh no, it's
Okay.
you. Okay, go for it. I don't
20
remember.
pounds from Sean Isherwood. I had an offer for a PhD fully funded that had to start in 2015. I just had to pass on an exam. I used my chosen name, and an invigilator asked. I bet you that's a misspelling. Maybe I don't know, or I don't know that word. Investigator. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Asked about it mid-exam. I panicked, so I left early and failed and delayed my career by years. Oh my God. Yeah, I always think this applies to so many things.
Garbage.
Like I remember there was an issue with name tags for some major company last year.
No,
And
it
it's
is
like-
invigilator. That's the word.
Okay, I've not heard that word, so thank you, Sean,
I
for
just Googled
giving
it.
us a new essay word. Yeah, I don't understand why organizations wouldn't be like, we have your like legal name on file. It makes sense that some places might need a legal name or something, but then what you put on this piece of paper doesn't fucking matter. Like, you know, it's unfortunate that kind of thing can happen, and to delay you by years is so frustrating.
$5 from Spectacular Snyderman. Hashtag Team Arden, but Matt is the real trooper this day. Another one
Yes.
for Arden. Okay.
Getting pity
This-
votes for Matt. Thank you. We're also at 12 votes, which means we need 13 more votes overall to declare a winner one way or another. So if you are in the audience and you have some spare cash, $5 or more, to donate to the competition, please do. Team Arden thanks you for your service. $5 from Quagma TV, team right side of the screen. For a snack, try slicing a banana long ways, slap peanut butter in the middle. Now you have a banana sandwich. See, I don't like bananas, but that sounds like it would probably be good. So
You need bread for a sandwich.
I'm on the right side of the screen.
yeah, that's you. That's
I
a
gave
vote
it
for
to
Team
you.
Ben.
That's me.
I gave it to
Okay,
you.
good, cool. I want to make sure we had directions correct.
I have an idea. I don't know how we're going to implement it, but I'm going to launch it here so people will remind me if we forget. But we could do a series of these competitions where either the winner or loser has to co-host a drunk episode of Transatlantic Call-In Show.
I would totally
I
do
mean,
it.
Arden and I have both done drunk streams, so that would not be hard for either of us.
True. I don't think any of us are confused about whether or not Katie likes to drink, so I think that is something that can probably be arranged.
Oh yeah.
But the question is, do we send the winner or the loser? It's like, I can justify both.
Yeah, probably the loser, because I mean, having a important conversations drunk seems like a potential downside, but
We'll do a
Six-
different kind
oh.
of screening that day, I think.
okay.
Yeah. 666 from Ray Van Alphen. Ben, you described the taste of the drink as gasoline from a used rubber, as if you know. Shocking. For decency and good form, cough. Go Team Arden.
Yes. Although, don't think that I would be
And-
above drinking gasoline from a used condom. You said for decency, but I mean, like, I'm not above that. Anything for content.
Yeah,
Thanks, Ray.
That's for the Oscar Foxtrot, if you know what I mean.
Coming
Ooh, I
to
see some
OnlyFans.
votes sliding in. That's good. The calls are working. Yes, we will win. Because, okay, we both had to do a punishment this time because we tied last time. But if Team Arden wins, I don't have to do a punishment at all. So 5
Yeah,
pounds from
yeah.
Eagles. Hashtag Team Arden. How about a taco that's been soaked in warm water? Oh my God, that might actually be the right thing because that sounds so fucking disgusting that I
That's
can't
nasty.
even like.
And then afterwards, if you have to drink the water that you soaked it in.
Ooh, we
no.
could just start smoothifying foods, just literally like warm water and a gordita crunch in the fucking blender, and you have to drink 4 ounces.
Okay.
Again,
I
I'm
will
a trash
suffer for
can,
you
like
guys.
bringing it.
I feel like this one should
Bring
be
it.
for let's for the moment go with the gordita crunch peanut butter licorice combo. These really gross ones, we're gonna have to up the score thing. That's got to be like a minimum combined score of 50, not.
Yeah.
We're not. This isn't literally Fear Factor, but it can be if you pay for it.
Yeah, true.
Would you eat crickets? Never mind.
I would eat a cricket.
I have, and they're delicious.
I was gonna say, I don't even feel
Team
like that's
human
much of a
trash
punishment.
can.
It'd be weird, but I would do it easy.
$5 from Mildred, Team Malcontent, Choco Puffs, and blackened Voodoo Lager or Tree Frog beer. Okay,
Tree Frog.
That'd be
beer.
interesting.
That could be interesting.
Someone asked why I don't have a weekly drunk show. I don't. Fun fact: I don't drink. I had a little bit of a sad time earlier this year, so people
he acts like this all the time. He's not drunk.
Yeah, people might be confused because I was going through some stuff earlier in the year when those drunken episodes were happening, but I'm back to full sobriety.
Right on. $5 from Quagma TV. Team left side of the screen. Gordita crunch with peanut butter and strawberry jelly. Okay, so it's like one of those things where like, if it's a gordita crunch in the sense that it's got like cheese and spicy ranch and beans with that stuff, that does sound gross. But if you just mean like replacing those things with peanut butter and strawberry jelly, that sounds delicious. Like I that's just bread. It's like a PB&J but on a taco. Like I mean, I'll do it. If you consider that a punishment, by all means, let's count that one. But thank you, Quagma TV. All right, we're 10 votes away from
Oh my God, Farron likes to say terrible things about my hamster. $9.99 from Farron. Hashtag Team Fisted Pebbles. Like, why do you keep coming to my streams and talking about fisting my hamster? This is like really weird.
Is your fist is probably bigger than your hamster.
It's bigger than my hamster.
Is this a furry thing? Because we are not launching a furry call-in show on the line. I'm sorry.
No, it's just Farron just shows up in my Twitch chat talking about fisting my hamster, and I'm just like, why? She's so innocent.
$5 from Crystal Edward. Hashtag Team Licorice. Hashtag Team Ben. Ben's Team Licorice now. Everyone associate Ben with licorice. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
now.
that's fine.
Okay.
$4.99 from Nickel Us. Raw durian fruit topped Birrios Team Ben. I like durian though. Durian's delicious. My apartment mates might be like, "Why does it smell so bad?" But you know,
microwaved
I would
salmon.
do it. I can actually get durian here. Wait, what about the salmon?
Said microwaved salmon. That's what we're giving you.
I wish I could pick Velma up. She's right here by my feet and being so sweet, but she does not like to be picked up. $5 from Mildred Team Malcontent. Hashtag Team Arden Frosted Flakes or Capectate. I don't know what that is. Or castor oil. I don't know what Capectate is, or if I'm even saying it even in the ballpark of correct. But thanks for the vote. I'll take it.
Team Ben needs to catch up. $5 Canadian from Nonsense Aficionado. Tim Hortons had a meatless burger for a while, topped with ketchup, mayo, mustard, and barbecue sauce. Add hot sauce. Take your challenge. Love Canada. I don't know if we have access to that.
Yeah, and I eat like Impossible and Beyond burgers literally all the time, so that would not even be a punishment. I'd be like, okay, thanks for the burger that I get from Burger King like every other week anyway.
Yeah, even the sauce, those sauces are commonly combined. I'd say mustard's the only one that's going to be a little much because there's already mustard in the mayo and the barbecue sauce, but
Yeah.
that's not that bad.
Nah. Oh, Matt says it's pronounced kaopectate. Okay. Well, I still don't know what it is, but
Okay.
And we don't have Tim Hortons in America. Well, the U.S. I guess Canada's America, kind of.
1169 Canadian from Rebus Wind. From my understanding, gender ID is like the inherent ability to distinguish different wavelengths of light. Gender roles are what society named those different lights. Does that make any sense? Yeah, I think I get the metaphor or like the analogy you're trying to do here. I've never heard of people with an inherent ability to distinguish different wavelengths of light. That sounds like a superpower, but if that exists, that sounds more like what I'm talking about. Like an inherent thing that exists within you. We don't know why you are this way, but you just are. A matter of fact about you, separate from like how we define those categories like at large in society. Word. True.
10 euros from Jotun's daughter. 17 months prescription HRT this week, and I just got my dysphoria diagnosis along with a psych thumbs up for surgeries. Now I just have to come out to my parents. Hashtag team sandwich. Hashtag team probirios.
That's awesome.
That's a lot of big steps, and I hope it goes well with your parents. But congrats on the thumbs up for surgeries. Really excited for you.
Yeah, also 17-month prescription for HRT. Do they just... I wish they would do that for everyone. Like, I wouldn't even overdose. I would just be like, cool, now I don't have to go back to the doctor for over a year. Like, that would be... I would love that. I mean, I get you probably need to do your checkups and stuff, and they probably do that to encourage you to go get your checkups, but like...
But those are usually
like
separate visits anyway,
probably
so...
do their hormones on their own, and it would not be a really big deal, but...
Yeah.
Sweet. Hashtag team sandwich. Wait, does that mean that's me? Hashtag team pro Burios? Oh, right, because you're trying to say you want Ben to do Burios, right?
Probably.
I think that's me.
But I think Team Sandwich is pro you eating the weird thing we came up with for the deal. Jotun, give us a... Specify in the chat, would you? Let us know who to give that point to.
Yeah. $5 from Caden Paulson. Hashtag Team Ben. Jimmy, beer is amazing. You just got to acquire a taste for it. Love you guys. Great show.
Anything for which one must acquire a taste, which is what I always hear, is by default garbage. Like that's gross. And it's not like a lot of people think of that about coffee and tea, but only in their like raw forms. Almost everybody likes milk tea when they finally try it. For some reason, we don't in America. Almost everybody likes like a latte with some sweetener in it. The beer doesn't even taste better when you add sugar to it. It's all garbage.
I mean, I would disagree, but sure. I get what you mean.
I disagree as well.
Acquired tastes are...
But also,
kind of
I mean, it might be garbage, but I am the trash can. So no complaints from me. I'm still going to drink it.
Joden said Arden. The thing I used to be able to handle, I'd get a Blue Moon and I'd ask them to put a shot of triple sec in it and then just a splash of orange juice over top. And that was like the closest to this almost as enjoyable ever that I got with beer.
That sounds good to me. I would drink that. If someone handed that to me and said that's what it was, I probably wouldn't order it. But if someone handed that to me and was like, I don't want this, I'd be like, I'll take it gladly.
You forget that you keep adding triple sec, so you get drunk like 3 times as fast, and you're like, oh my God, I am blasted.
That's the best, though. I want to get blasted from one drink. Sweet. We're on, 19 votes? So only 6 away from $5 Canadian from Aaron. Okay, fine. I'll hop the fence and go hashtag Team Ben, hashtag Team Pebbles.
Hell yeah.
I think we're going to hit the mark this time, which is good because I think that means Ben's going to be doing a punishment. $5 from Dizzy's Spook, hashtag Team Arden. Let's go. Love Team Arden. You guys are the best.
I did see a request. I think I did see a request at some point for me to show Pebbles on stream. She likes to sleep during the day, so maybe if I can wake her up at some point where she won't be angry at me, we can make that happen. But
I hope YouTube doesn't suppress us because they hear it's they have a show where you can call and talk to trans people and then they punish each other.
Hey, look, let's not pretend YouTube doesn't have something like that already going on.
$5 from Quagma TV. Team Arden, my 1-year HRT versary is in less than 2 weeks. It's been so awesome being me. Y'all help me in so many ways to stay fresh. Cheese bags.
I love it.
Is,
I saw that.
I mean, you know
meme.
what?
Yeah,
it's great. And it's gender neutral. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Also, congratulations on your HRT anniversary. That's exciting. $10 from Craig's Fender. Thank you. No, but thank you for the donation. That's very sweet.
$5 from Adrian Gunter. Hashtag Team Ben. Malor taco for Arden.
Malor.
Like,
how would we even do a Malor taco? What does that even?
You dunk the taco in the Malor.
That's right.
God. You people are fucking vile.
Right. When do we get to say that this is transphobia? Like, this is picking on trans people.
this is the only
Jimmy, your
acceptable
challenge
time to
ideas
be
are transphobic.
Excuse me, this is my channel. It's clearly trans exploitation. Please use the correct terms.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. You read this one? Am I drunk? Okay.
Oh, we just read that one. Yeah.
$5 from Nathan Winter. Hashtag Team Ben. Sometime Jimmy should have some kind of punishment, to be honest. True.
Nah, y'all, if y'all knew how I suffer for this channel and this show, you'd be like, he's been punished enough. Y'all, no one knows how I suffer.
It's a punishment for this cis man to like have a show with all trans people. See, I know how Jimmy really feels. It's like, gotta bring these people back on.
We've hit the mark. So now
it was going to come out eventually.
Yeah, we have hit the mark. Is it me? $5 from Medic Keaton 73. An additional $5 since I love hearing Arden try to sound things out.
Thank you. I sometimes do it in an exaggerated way for laughs when I'm like top day, like that. I mean, it's intentional, but thank you. $5 or €5. Oh, excuse me, from Mismatched Trans Woman Solidarity. Yes, Team Arden go. Thank you, Mismatched. I appreciate it.
Looks like it's gonna be fun for me next time.
That's right.
Yeah. $5 again from Jotun's daughter. Just for a clarification, I've been on HRT 17 months.
Oh.
My prescriptions are 6 months nowadays.
That's
I think
still
that's
more
similar
than I
to
get.
what I think I get mine pretty spaced out.
Well, I guess so. Mine had been 3 months, but I'm on the pellet, and they say that the longer you're on that, the longer it lasts. So I could get up to 6 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But as of right now, I'm at like 3 or 4 months. Although it's been 4 now, and I feel actually good, which means I think it's doing what it's supposed to do. So.
Okay, so Ben loses, and Ben, I think what would be more fun, but everyone can override me. You got to get a bag of, you remember Warheads?
Yeah.
And every time someone super chats $5 next one, you have to suck on one. You don't have to swallow it.
Adding more Warheads. Okay.
You don't have to swallow. You have to suck all the sour off, but you don't have to swallow if you don't want all that sugar at once. But I'm thinking we like just burn all the nerves off of your tongue.
Oh my God.
Let's do it.
Relentless.
Y'all remember Warheads?
Awesome.
Oh yeah. I love those things.
Yeah, you won't.
Because there's going to be so many at one time.
You won't love them anymore.
Yeah, no.
Well, since that was the last super chat, thank you all so much for donating and for Team Arden winning. This was a really fun show. We had really good conversations this episode and last episode. So I'm really liking the direction the show is going. We're finally getting some consistently, not necessarily anti-trans, but some some callers that spark, I think, more interesting dialogue, which is really exciting. So thank you so much to all the viewers who showed up and watched today, and to our mods, of course, as always, and to Jimmy and our call screener, everyone who makes the show possible. We are so grateful. And we will see you next time with a bag of warheads and more, or whenever Ben and I are on together. But until then, we'll see y'all later. Bye.